a webinar on gender and mental health, promoting mental health, safety, and well-being amidst COVID-19 pandemic. I am Lorian Daphne, your host for today, and to officially begin the program, let us start with an opening prayer to be followed by our national anthem.
Wala pong sound yung video.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, ewas ng sinangalan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagaw, ay hinatang tula, kawin sa pagkayang minamahal, ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang ay di magtitingin, luman ang araw ng walhagin pagsinta, tuwing langit sa piling mo, ang hindi kaya na pagkay mga amin, at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
And now for the opening remarks, let us welcome Dr. Josefina Reyes Torres, our Directress for Academics.
Good morning, everyone. Patitangan lang po ang mga cameras. Gusto ko makita ang mga places ng ating mga students at mga teachers. Please open your cameras po. So, mga students, gusto kong makita yung mga mukha ninyo, yung inyong mga gwapo at gwapang mga mukha. Please turn on your camera. Okay, so to Engineer Joselito Casaol, our Director for Administration and Human Resources, our Dean and Program Heads, Ms. Selfa Legisliana, Dr. Marilyn Hari, our guest speaker, my colleagues, faculty members, and students, magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Warm welcome to this important webinar on Gender and Development, or GAD. This webinar is in compliance with CHED Memorandum Order number 1, series of 2015, entitled Establishing the Policies and Guidelines on Gender and Development in the Commission on Higher Education and Higher Educational Institutions, which seeks to introduce and institutionalize gender equality, gender responsiveness, and sensitivity in the various aspects of Philippine higher education. But what is gender and development? The Philippine Commission on Women defined gender and development as the development perspective and process that is participatory and empowering, equitable, sustainable, free from violence, respectful of human rights, supportive of self-determination, and actualization of human potentials. Pero anong kahalagahan ng God? Bakit kailangan natin i-discuss ang God? Okay? So, I would like to ask you for some questions. Please answer whether you believe it is myth or truth. Totoo ba to or sabi-sabi lang? So if you want to answer, you can write your answers in the chat box. Okay, first, if a father does the household work, he is considered as under the Siaa. Truth or myth? Totoo ba or sabi-sabi lang ito? So nakikita niyo ba ang mga tatay niyo gumagawa sa bahay? Tinutulungan ang nanay na maglaba, magluto, maglinis ng bahay. Okay, meron na itong sumagot myth. Okay. So sabi-sabi lang. So ngayon nakikita natin ang mga tatay talagang gumagawa din sa bahay, no? Namimili, nagluluto. Sa mga groceries, sa supermarket, makikita natin mga tatay ang namimili din, nag-groceries. So, tama po, it is a myth. Okay, another question. Men are better leaders and administrators than women. Totoo ba? Naniniwala kayo dito o hindi? Is it true or myth? Okay. So, mas magaling daw na leader ang lalaki kesa sa babae. So I'm sure yung mga babae hindi papayag, no, na mas magaling sa atin ang mga lalaki. And it is true naman, no. It does not matter whether you are a female or a male. Maraming mga successful business organizations are being run by female leaders, hindi lang male. And also great leaders of other countries are female. Okay, so tama po yung mga sagot nyo, myth. Okay. Okay, it is the woman's fault if she is being harassed sexually when she is wearing skimpy clothing. So hindi daw kasalanan ng babae kung siya ay ma-harass sexually. No? Wala din kasalanan ang lalaki kung mag-harass siya sexually. Ito ay kasalanan ng babae kasi sexy ang kanyang suot. So, myth or truth? So, okay. Myth. Okay, so, lahat ng mga sumasagot naman pa ay myth. Okay. The mother should be the only one responsible for child-rearing and parenting. So, responsibilidad lang daw ng nanay ang magpalaki ng anak. Okay, myth. Okay. And, okay, it is not proper for a girl to say, I love you first to a boy. So, ang common concept natin ay dapat ang lalaki ang magsasabi ng I love you. Dapat ang lalaki din ang magpo-propose, no, sa babae. Okay. So, okay, siyempre sabihin natin mga babae, hindi yan totoo. Okay. So, ibig sabihin, pwede na rin ang babae ang magsabi ng I love you first sa lalaki. So, yun ang trend ngayon. Okay. Now, these are some examples of what we call gender stereotyping, which means a form of prejudgment, bias, or limitation given to roles and expectations of males and females. So in other words, generalize na natin ang role ng babae at lalaki. So pag babae, we expect na mahina, iyakin, no, malambot ang puso. Okay? Pag lalaki, in-expect natin masculine siya, malakas, hindi dapat umiyak, no, matapang, etc. So sa klase, sinong gusto natin maging leader sa klase? Lalaki. Kasi naniniwala tayo mas malakas, mas matapang. Okay. I remember nung elementary ako, may subjects kami na home economics, pero pang babae lang. So lahat lang ng girls ang nag-a-attend ng home economics. Ang boys naman ay nasa ibang subject na puro lalaki lang din. I think it is practical arts. Okay. So yung home economics, nananahi kami, nagluluto, nagbuburda. Okay. Yung mga lalaki naman sa practical arts, gagawa sila ng mga projects na merong tawag ito, nagmamartilyo sila, at nagtatanim, so gardening, part yun ng, so pang-lalaki lang daw yun. And then sa course, ang engineering course ay for male only. At ang teaching course naman ay para sa babae. Pero ngayon, meron tayong female mechanics, meron tayong female engineers, female pilots, no? So sa AMT, meron mga babae din na kumukuha ng AMT. Sa AET, meron din mga babae. At sa tourism, which is usually dominated by female, meron din tayong mga male students. So ito ang aim ng God. God aims to remove this gender stereotyping and to introduce and institutionalize gender equality, meaning men and women are equal. They have the same rights and the same opportunities. So at this point, I wish to thank our guest speaker for accepting our invitation to share with us her expertise and enlighten us on what gender and development is all about. After this webinar, I am confident that we will be able to realize the importance of gender equality for both men and women, boys and girls in and out of the school. How gender and development awareness be utilized in our profession as teachers, and how this gender equality benefits our students. Sabi ng UNICEF, equal rights and opportunities for girls and boys help children fulfill their potential. And as teachers, we play a major role in creating school environments that are free of gender bias and in encouraging both male and female to reach their highest potentials in work and abilities. So once again, in behalf of the management of the Academy, I welcome you all to this webinar on gender and development. I wish you all a very productive day ahead. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Dr. Josefina Reyes-Torres, our Directress for Academics. And now for our introduction of today's program speaker, may I call on Mr. Gerald Conihar, Siaa Instructor.
Thank you, Ms. Caranto. Good day to everyone. It is my honor and privilege to introduce to you our resource speaker for this webinar. Our speaker for this webinar is a graduate of Bachelor of Arts, major in Psychology at La Consolacion University. She earned her Master of Arts in Education, major in Guidance and Counseling at Bulacan State University, while she finished her Doctor of Philosophy in Guidance and Counseling at Philippine Normal University. Dr. Hari is a professional teacher and a licensed guidance counselor. Currently, she is a full-time guidance services specialist at di Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila. Also, a part-time associate professor 3 at the Graduate School of Olivares College, Parañaque for Master of Arts in Education, major in Guidance and Counseling, and part-time professor 1 at Emilio Aguinaldo College, Manila. She is a board member of the Governing Council of Integrated Professional Counselor Association of the Philippine Incorporation. She co-authored the very first published Suicide Prevention and Postvention Protocol, a guide for school community in the country, and published meta-analysis research on the journey of guidance and counseling research in the last decade. She had been invited in various institutions as a resource speaker on topics regarding parenting, mental health, career, and positive psychology. She was also invited to speak as a guest speaker on gender and development awareness webinars at Sorsogon State University and Philippine Normal University. Students, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming our prestigious resource speaker for this gender-related loss and mental health webinar. She is none other than Dr. Marilyn N. Hari. Welcome po, ma'am.
Hi, can I be heard? Hello, nadidinig po ba ako?
Yes po.
Everyone? Okay. So, can I share my screen? Am I allowed? Because to notify na I cannot start screen while others participants. Okay. So thank you, Professor Condehar, for that very generous introduction. Okay, so thank you so much. And also, I would like to thank the school, no, the Safar Aviation International School for inviting me as one of your resource speaker for this morning for the topic webinar on gender and mental health, promoting health, safety, and well-being amidst COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so may I share my screen? Okay, I'm sorry. May I ask the assistance from the ICTO or the IT department, IT specialist or the host of this program because I cannot share my screen. Okay. So thank you so much. Okay, nakikita na po ba yung aking screen at this point in time? Okay, so good morning all. Good morning to the students, faculty, and staff of Aviation, Sapphire Aviation School. So I hope this morning we will have will gain knowledge, no, and then also awareness on our topic webinar on gender and mental health. So how are we going to promote health, safety, and well-being, especially in this time of uncertainty na tayo ay humaharap sa krisis na ang tinatawag natin na COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. So but before that, Okay, so may I ask, no, how are you feeling today? So I will post something, a link, no, on the chat box. So kindly click the link and then answer the question. Okay, so magkaroon muna tayo ng simple kamusta. Okay, so I posted a link on the chat box and then kindly click the link and then answer the question. So, how are you feeling today? Kamusta po kayo? What keeping you up nowadays? How are you feeling today? And what's keeping you nowadays? Ano po ba ang inyong mga pinagkakaabalahan? Okay. And then, let me see. Tignan po natin kung so I will share the responses. Don't worry. Yung pong inyong magiging response, hindi po mag-a-appear dyan ang inyong pangalan. So, let us see. So, let's see the responses. Okay. Were you able to see the link on the chat box? Ayan. So, how are you feeling today? So, marami na akong nakikita rito, no? Happy, good, tired, what else? Okay, so, ayan. So, how many are we in this room? Okay, so, nakakatuwa. Ang dami nating participants, no? Yan. So, motivated, feeling happy, wanting a new phone. Tama-tama, malapit na ang Christmas or malapit na ang Christmas bonus for those who are working, no? A little bit sleepy, disappointed. Ano kaya yung mga reason at merong mga ganitong feeling? So, I see a lot of positive and also a not so good feeling right now, no? Exhausted, hungry. Okay, so baka meron pang mga hindi nakakapag-breakfast. Yan, I'm fine po. Happy, content. Okay naman, doing okay, pass away, but I'm trying. Medyo nabitin yung statement. I'm doing fine and well, feeling blessed. That is one of the important feeling that we have, no? Napakasaya kapag you feel blessed and grateful, no, for the day, especially yung you wake up in the morning. So that's another blessing, another opportunity for each one of us to be thankful and to do our share as a good citizen, and also ano ba yung purpose natin, no? To become a blessing to other person. Ayan, doing well. I feel anxious. Okay, so what's the cause of the anxiety? Okay, a little bit stressed. Tapos na ba ang midterm? Okay, may mga mini-meet ba na deadlines? Stress? Better? Do my best to be happy. So merong mga challenging feeling din, ano? Challenging emotions. Then I'm feeling all right today. A little bit, hungry, feeling down. Wanna have a break. Okay. So don't worry, malapit na ang Christmas break. And disappointment. It's hard cause my grandma, so medyo bitin. So siguro nagkaroon ng problema sa kanyang grandmother, no? Sleepy, better, optimistic, yan. Overthinking. Yeah, that's one of the common issues and concern of students right nowadays, no? Yung pag-overthink. And then loaded with ano kaya to? Is it in terms of personal, social, academic, or with regards to career issues? Yan. Contented, inspired, trying my best, stressed, sometimes busy, satisfied, kind of happy, not really okay. Okay naman, I'm good. A little bit, scared, no? Bit, unmotivated. So merong mga positive and negative. neutral, thankful, could be better. Yes, of course. If today is not okay, perhaps tomorrow will be another day, a more brighter day, no? Do my best to be happy, little bit sleepy. Gusto ko ng, ano to? I feel blessed right now, pressured. Okay, so later we will talk about, kasi meron akong mga nakikitang issues dito on mental health, no? So, may mga stress, na anxious, yan, unmotivated, feeling of merong exhaustion, no, or exhausted na, no, and then would like to be okay, no. So let's see what are some of the tips that you can do to practice, no, para medyo makatulong sa inyo if you feel a little bit or experiencing a negative emotion. Okay, so thank you so much for your participation. Okay, so I'll stop share. And then, okay, so let's go back. So, yan, so thank you for your sharing. And I hope, no, this morning, you will gain knowledge and skills with regards to our topic. Okay, so the title of the webinar is about gender and mental health. Okay, so and then we have the general objectives for this webinar. So first is the general objectives is to raise awareness on gender and development concepts and to promote wellness and self-care for physical and mental health during COVID-19 pandemic. Although right now, we are, I'm sure may mga another stressor tayo, no, at this point in time. Like for example, siguro napanood nyo narinig nyo sa news, nabasa, no, na magkakaroon na a possibility on the limited face-to-face. So it's another challenge for all of us, not only for students but also for faculty and staff of the school. Kasi syempre, we are adjusted already, no, na we used to have a online learning, no, as a mode of our learning, and then suddenly eto naman meron na tayo na eventually little by little babalik tayo dun sa tinatawag natin na normal or the usual na ginagawa natin before, which is yun lang face-to-face. But I think this is only right now applicable for those courses na kailangan nilang magkaroon ng limited face-to-face. Okay, so the specific objectives, okay, so understand the gender-related laws in which women and men enjoy the same opportunities, the rights and obligations in all spheres of life. So kanina na-mention yan, yung sa ating activity na ibinigay sa atin na myth and fact, no? Kasi before kasi talagang merong gender inequality, yung tinatawag natin, no? Na parang mas powerful ang men rather than dun sa women. And then mas maraming opportunity na binibigay or na-enjoy yung mga kalalakihan. Also in terms of the rights and obligations. No? But right now, we'll see ano ba yung mga changes. Kaya at ano ba yung reason at nagkaroon tayo ng tinatawag na gender equality or and gender equity. Also, another objective is to share, discuss, and address the issues that students continue to face to achieve empowerment amidst COVID-19 pandemic. And also to formulate a recovery plan for specific, sustainable, and inclusive actions towards gender equality and empowerment of individuals. And the last one is to provide information and deliver preventive and responsive support to individuals in relation to health, safety, and well-being and or mental health issues. Because as part of the effect of the gender inequality, so meron niyang epekto sa ating health, also with our safety, and our well-being, no, as pertains to the mental health issues na hinaharap ng mga naka-experience ng gender inequality. So this will be our objectives for this webinar. Okay, so familiar with the different scenarios. Okay, so what can you see on the screen? You may type in your answer. Ano ba yung mga nakikita nyo dyan sa screen? So let's see. Are you familiar with some of the pictures on the screen? Can you tell something in one word, in one word? Okay, gender stereotyping. So may nagsabi, gender stereotyping, harassment, okay, abuse, trauma. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my cell phone now for the chat. And trauma, abuse, also. Okay, what else? Okay, more on abuse, fighting, cancel culture, violence, cyberbullying, yes. Okay, stress. Okay, so crazy. Okay, saan kaya yung part? Okay, so sige, tingnan natin later. What else? In one word, what can you see? Toxic. Okay, toxic relationship. Ayaw natin yan. Lahat tayo ayaw natin ng toxic relationship. Okay, what else? Meron pa ba? Verbal abuse, of course. It's an illustration of verbal abuse. Manipulation. Okay. Pressure. Okay, meron. Yes. Harassment. Any form, no? Like sexual harassment. What else? Abuse, different kind of abuse. You can see on the picture. Okay. Okay, so far, thank you for those who responded, okay, those who participate. So let's see. So this picture depicts different kinds of gender inequality. Okay, so you will see, no, meron dyan tinatawag na physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse. Okay, and right now, very yung online, no? Yan, yung online, the cyberbullying, abuse online. So yan, so we have to be very, very careful, no? Sa katulad nga ng parati sa ating nare-remind. Think before you click. Okay? And then also other forms of abuse. So yan, so in the workplace, yung mga makikita mo dyan, no, yung mga scenario, mga gender inequality. Social, economic abuse also. Okay. Okay. So now, let's see. The picture depicts also the different gender-based violence. No, yung iba't ibang klase na gender-based violence na nangyayari sa atin or sa environment, sa ating community. So ano ba tong tinatawag natin na gender-based violence? So it is defined as violence that is directed against a person based on their gender or sex. Okay? It includes acts that inflict physical. Okay, so alam naman natin pag physical, ito yung nasasaktan tayo physically, no? Mental, okay, psychological or emotional, or sexual harm or suffering. Threats of such acts, coercion, and other deprivations of liberty. It also includes physical, sexual, and psychological violence perpetrated or condoned within the family. Pwede siyang nangyayari inside our home, no? Yung mga different kinds of gender-based violence. And the general community or by the state and its institution. So, ibig sabihin, itong gender-based violence, ito yung karaniwan nakikita natin in the family, in the community, and then pertains to violence with regards to sex or gender. No? Pwedeng physical, mental, emotional, social, economic, or mental suffering. Okay. So let's see the data or the statistics on gender-based violence. What are the prevalence on gender-based violence? Okay, globally, ibig sabihin, worldly, no, 243 million women and girls aged 15 to 49 have been subjected to sexual and or physical violence perpetuated by an intimate partner. So, ibig naman palang sabihin, globally, itong number ng na 243 million women and girls na nakaka-experience ng violence or physical and sexual violence, ang gumagawa is yung kanilang partner or yung taong pinagkakatiwalaan nila, taong mahal nila. So, yon. And usually, ang age is between 15 to 49 years old. Gender-based violence is a major cause of disability and death for women aged 15 to 44 years old. So that is according to the record of United Nations Women 2011. Okay? So isa siya sa major cause, no, yung disability and death. Siguro pwede nating sabihin ang mga example nito is yung physical abuse, no? Mga ganon. Okay? So later on, we'll discuss more on the types of abuse. Okay, and then boys are also victims of trafficking and gender-based sexual violence and exploitation. Okay, but due to stigmatization, the numbers continue to be vastly underreported. So nagiging victim then ng different forms of gender-based violence ang men. But dahil nga sa merong stigma na kapag ikaw ay isang lalaki, kailangan matapang ka, hindi ka umiiyak. So may mga ganong issue. So hindi na i-report yung mga issue na yun. So because of the stigma. Okay? So yung takot na baka ikaw ay ma-judge or malabelan na duwag or bakit nagsusumbong, umiiyak. So yun. But they are also, men also are victims of different gender-based violence. Okay, so you will also see on the data that there are different types of gender-based violence na na-experience, no? Human trafficking, rape, sexual harassment, assault, expelled from home. Okay? And also, in 2021, just recently, no, nitong August, makikita natin, based on the report dun sa violence against women cases, 18,945 have been reported the PNP Women and Children Protection Center. So ito yung reported, pero hindi natin alam ilan ba yung population or percentage ng mga unreported cases of violence against women. So, yan, ang taas niyan. Kung papansin niyo, ito rin yung time na tayo ay under crisis pa. Okay. Also, when ECQ was implemented in Luzon and other areas of in the Philippines, no, during the quarantine period na nagkaroon tayo ng tinatawag na pandemic, so nag-start tayo ng community quarantine March 16 to May 31, you will see on the data that there is an increase dun sa report ng mga gender-based violence. Okay? And yan, kinompare dun sa data naman ng Interparliamentary Union, yung sexism, harassment, and violence against women parliamentaries sa China and Philippines. So this one pertains to the effect of the gender-based violence. So you will see yung stress, no? When it comes to stress issue, Philippines 10.60. And anxiety, malaki din yung population na apektado yung Pilipinas, 7.30. Depression, 9.72. And then other forms of related issues on na naka-apekto dun sa kanilang mental health, 20.60. So there is a big number of data. So now we know that both women and men experience gender-based violence. Women and girls are the most at risk and most affected by gender-based violence. Consequently, no, the term violence against women and gender-based violence, ano siya, often used interchangeably. So pareho, but boys and men can also experience gender-based violence. Hindi lang siya for, dahil nasabi natin na violence against women, akala natin babae lang. So kasama doon yung mga kalalakihan. They can also experience gender-based violence as sexual and gender minority. Regardless of the target, regardless of the gender, the sex, so gender-based violence is rooted in structural inequalities. Yung hindi pagkakaroon ng equal or treatment, equilibrium or balance. No, inequalities between men and women. And it is characterized by the use and abuse of physical, emotional, or financial power and control. So lahat pwedeng maka-experience ng tinatawag na gender-based violence. Hindi lang kababaihan, kundi kalalakihan. So there are different types of gender-based violence. So we have what we call the sexual violence. So this includes actual, attempted, or threatened vaginal, anal, or oral rape. Okay? So including marital rape. Okay, so kapag ba ikaw ay may asawa, kapag pinilit ka, kasi di ba bilang mag-asawa, isa sa responsibility ninyo is to share, to show your love to one another. Yung halimbawang pipilitin ka ng asawa mo na makipag-sex, no? So I hope hindi tayo masyadong kasi pare-pareho naman siguro tayong adult na, college na rito, no? Yan, so sige. So napag-uusapan natin, no? Kapag halimbawa ganun nga, may asawa ka, pipilitin ka, ayaw mo, labag sa kalooban mo, that is already marital rape. Yung pinilit kang makipag-sex. Okay? Okay, yun yung tinatawag. So pwede mong ireklamo yung asawa mo. And then sexual abuse and exploitation. So yung sexual violence, no, it includes actual, attempted. Pag sinabing attempted, balak, hindi natuloy. Okay? Or threatened vaginal, anal, or oral rape. Okay? Including marital rape, no, sa mag-asawa, sexual abuse and exploitation. Forced prostitution, pinilit ka, no? Sino man yung namilit, no? Forced prostitution, transactional or survival sex. So this is common, no? Sabi nga nila, kapag daw may mga kasabihan, kapag hipit sa patalim, kumakapit. And this is isa sa example na kinakapitan ng iba. Ito yung tawag na survival sex. Yung binibenta nila yung kanilang katawan para makasurvive, meron silang masustain for their financial stability. No? Yung merong makain every day. Okay? And sexual harassment, intimidation, and humiliation. So these are the different examples of what we call the sexual violence. Okay? Another type of gender-based violence is yung physical violence. So it includes actual, attempted or threatened physical assault or battery, slavery and slave-like practices, and trafficking. So yung pinipilit ka, yan, or sinasaktan ka para may makuha sa'yo in return. No? So yan. So usually to, di ba, naririnig natin yan yung mga sa mag-asawa din. Example, madalas ginugulpi yung si babae dahil kayo ay parang may thinking, dahil babae ka, hindi ka pwedeng magreklamo at saka huwag makikialam sa away mag-asawa. May mga ganon, no? That is an example of physical assault or battery. Slavery or slave-like practices, no? Yung pagtatrabahuin ka ng pagtatrabahuin hanggang mapagod ka, example. And human trafficking. Physical violence. Also, we have what we call the emotional and psychological violence. So this pertains or it includes abuse and humiliation such as insult, what else? Cruel and degrading treatment, compelling a person to engage in humiliating acts and placing restrictions on liberty and freedom of movement. So merong hindi ka binibigyan ng pagkakataon na gawin mo yung mga bagay na gusto mo, no? Yun yung mga halimbawa na emotional and psychological violence. So titingnan mo rin ano yung degree, yung level, no? Na hinuhumiliate ka, you are being engaged in humiliating acts and restricted on your liberty and freedom to do the things, no, na mga for your improvement, for your progress as an individual. Okay, and then another types of gender-based violence is the harmful traditional practices. So harmful traditional practices, this pertains to include, okay, so meron kasing mga different cultural practices and traditions. So we have the right, no, as an individual. No, meron tayong ganun, yung right natin. But yung tinatawag natin ng mga traditional practices, minsan yung iba napipilitan na lang silang gawin yun, pero that is beyond their parang beliefs and values. No? It includes, halimbawa lang to yung female genital mutilation or cutting. So yan, ay merong mga ganyan na may mga tradition, ano, hindi lang pala lalaki yung nasi-circumcise. But there are practices, no? And then traditions na based dun sa kanilang religion, beliefs, and tradition, no? Yung female genital mutilation or forced marriage. Yan, naririnig natin yan, di ba? Yung mga pinipilit ipakasal. Ano ba yung mga dahilan? So, minsan para makasurvive due to financial stability. And then, ano pa ba? Yung pinagkasundo, child marriage, honor or dowry killing, and sex-selective abortion practices, sex-selective neglect and abuse, or denial of education. So yan, ito, denial of education and economic opportunities for women and girls. So before, ito yung, I don't know kung may naririnig kayo dating mga kwento, no, na yung mga before daw, ang mga babae, hindi sila nag-aaral, hindi sila nakakatapos ng college kasi parang ang thinking is, pagka babae, doon ka sa bahay. Dadating yung time, mag-aasawa ka, kukunin ka ng asawa mo, yung lalaki. So, ikaw sa bahay ka, you will do all the household chores, taking care of your children. So, yun yung kanyang role and responsibility as a woman, or as girls, no? Pero right now, iba na yung ating situation. Mas marami na tayong, ando na yung tinatawag natin empowerment, women empowerment. So, ang babae, hindi lang siya sa bahay. Meron siyang choice, no? Kung gusto niyang mag-aral, pwede siyang mag-aral kahit hanggang makarating siya sa doctoral. Kasi opportunity yun eh. Meron ng fair opportunity for men and women. Okay? So, at hindi lang yung babae yung nag-i-stay sa bahay. Meron na rin tayong mga tinatawag na house husband. No? Kasi dati, it's a sign, no? Parang kapag ikaw ay isang lalaki na supposedly nagtataguyod ng iyong family, but then nabaliktad yung role and responsibilities, tinitingnan before na mahina kang klaseng lalaki. But right now, hindi na ganon. So, inaalis yung misconception, no? Yung stigma on that. Okay, maaaring yun ay internal arrangement ninyo or pag-uusap ninyong mag-asawa, no? Na, okay, so si house husband muna, si mother muna ang magwo-work or yung wife, no? So, meron na tayong tinatawag na gender equality. Fair and equal opportunities, equal treatment, and equal roles and responsibilities in terms of regardless of your gender or your sex. Okay? So, yon. So, ito yung mga, but I know there are some, no? Meron pa rin mga naniniwala, no? Kumbaga, hindi pa naaalis sa kanila or nandun pa rin yung thinking na mas powerful ang men kaysa sa women. So, pero ngayon, dahil dito sa gender and development natin tinatawag or the gender equality and equity, so, tinatry na maging fair at maging tawag dito, maging equal yung opportunity sa bawat isa. Okay? Yan. And then, another types of gender-based violence is what we call the socio-economic violence. So it includes discrimination and denial of opportunities or services on the basis of sex, gender, or sexual orientation, sexual exclusion, obstructive legal practices such as denial of the exercise and enjoyment of civil, social, economic, cultural, and political rights, mainly to women and girls. Okay, so dati kasi pagka hindi na i-enjoy ng mga kababaihan yung freedom or some opportunities with regards to, ngayon kasi ang mga babae nakakapag-negosyo na. No? Malalaman natin or makikita natin, nag-excel na rin sila dun sa field nila, dun sa career na meron sila. So, hindi lang ang mga kalalakihan. Meron ng equal opportunity in both gender or both sex. Okay, so next. Okay, so what are the main causes? What are the main causes of gender-based violence, no? Or yung inaano natin. Ano ba yung mga dahilan kung bakit nagkakaroon ng tinatawag na gender-based violence? Okay. First is what we call the physical factors. So, lack of physical security. Okay. And then socio-cultural. So, these are the different causes of gender-based violence. It is deeply rooted in discriminatory cultural beliefs. No? Yung mga maling cultural beliefs and attitudes that perpetuate inequality and powerlessness. So in particular, in women and girls. So various other factors such as poverty, ano pa ba? Lack of education and livelihood opportunities, and abuse, no? Also tend to contribute and to reinforce a culture of violence and discrimination based on gender. So, etong mga factors na to are frequently aggravated in times of conflict and displacement as the rule of law. Okay? And the result, no, nagkakaroon ng increase both in frequency and brutality on gender and development violence. So ang worst pa nito, nagiging tawag dito, nagiging cause siya, no, ng gender-based violence. So for example, physical factors. So lack of physical security and poverty. So in terms of lack of physical security, presence of, for example, no, owing to breakdown of law and order, presence of armed forces or groups, collapse of law enforcement, justice, institution and family, social or community structures. So women and girls are particularly vulnerable when leaving their communities in search for work, food, water, and firewood. or yung mga kung ano man yung mga duties and responsibilities na nakaatang or na binibigay sa isang kababaihan, no? They are most vulnerable to become a victim ng tinatawag natin physical violence, okay? And then also poverty, lack of education and some livelihood opportunities and inadequate access to shelter, food, water, and income generations can increase exposure to gender-based violence, including yung force, yung kaninang tinawag ko, no, yung sinabi ko na force or survival sex. Kasi kung wala nang makain yung pamilya, for example, merong isang family, yung mother na lang yung inaasahan, no? So kung wala nang makain, no, halimbawa tapos meron kang mga anak na kailangang mag-survive. So isa sa nagiging reason or nagiging cause para maging victim ng gender-based violence kasi magpipilitan siyang tanggapin or isa sa magiging decision niya or gagawin niya is to include or herself dun sa tinatawag na forced prostitution or survival para makapag-survive yung family niya. Okay? So that's some of the physical factors, no? And then, in terms of social, cultural, and political factors, so number one, yung discriminatory social, cultural, or religious laws and practices that marginalize women and girls and fail to respect their rights. Yung mga discrimination pagdating dun sa paniniwala, yung mga iba't ibang kultura, so na mas nakikita nila na mas powerful ang men kesa sa women. And then collapse of family, social and communal structures also, and disrupted roles within the family often expose women and girls to risk and limit coping mechanism and avenue for protection. And also, yung judicial, yung lack of confidence and trust in social and public institutions. So including law enforcement and justice institutions that discourage victims or survivors from seeking justice. Minsan, nakakalungkot mang isipin, pero may mga pagkakataon na yung biktima, siya pa yung sinisisi. Parang kasalanan mo kasi nagsuot ka ng sexing damit, kaya nangyari sa'yo yan, kaya ka nabastos. So gano'n, minsan nakakaano lang yun, lungkot, no? And then, yun yung nagiging cause din kung bakit yung victim hindi siya nagtitiwala doon sa ating law enforcement. Parang nawawala yung kanya. Kaysa parang hayaan na lang niya kaysa naman malaman pa or baka kung ano pa yung sabihin sa okay? Another cause is the judicial barriers. Lack of access to justice institutions and mechanism resulting in the culture of impunity for violence and abuse. Also, lack of adequate and affordable legal advice and representation. Kasi sometimes kapag ikaw ay isang victim ng any forms of abuse, ang iisipin mo agad, it's a long process. No? Mahal ang mag-consult sa isang legal advice. No? So yun agad, negative na agad ang nagiging ano. So merong tinatawag na judicial barriers. So hindi ka na lang mag-push through with the reklamo, no, on different forms of abuse. And also lack of adequate victim, survivor, and witness protection. Yan, natatakot. Kasi if ever, baka pag nagsumbong ka, merong mas parang baka one of the family members o mga kasama niyan, babalikan ka. So may mga thinking na gano'n. So isa din yun sa reason kung bakit nagkakaroon ng judicial barrier. And also, lack of adequate or mechanism, and adequate legal framework, including national, traditional, what else? Religious law that discriminate against women and girls, fails to guarantee their rights or exposes them to further harm and abuse. So, example nito, yung tinatawag natin non-discrimination. No? National law will fail to guarantee a certain right. No? Fail to criminalize certain acts, like yung rape, no? Habang proseso. Tapos ang nangyayari, nagkakaroon na lang ng agreement. No? Yan. And then, ayun, yun yung mga reason for judicial barriers. Okay? And then, also, yan, individual barriers. So, threat or fear of stigma, isolation, and social exclusion. So, yan. Kasi di ba usually pag natatakot na magsumbong, especially men who are victims of gender-based violence. Kasi nandun yung baka sila ay sabihan na ang hina naman ito or bakit nangyari yan, ba't mo hinayaang mangyari yan. So may stigma, feeling of isolation, and then social exclusion na baka ikaw ay parang feeling mo kapag nagsumbong ka, baka maging against sa'yo. Kasi may tendency ma-expose ang family members or kung sino man yung mga involved, no, doon sa nangyaring violence. No? Kaya yun, isa yon sa individual barriers, yung threat or fear of stigma, isolation, and social exclusion. And also, exposure to further violence. Okay? And at the hands of the perpetrator. So pwedeng maulit, no? The community or the authority, including arrest, detention, ill treatment, and punishment. And lack of information about human rights and how and where to seek help. Yan. Isa din yun sa individual barrier, no? Hindi alam or walang sapat na kaalaman on human rights and kung paano, saan, o kanino lalapit para na tulong. Okay? Another one is humanitarian processing obstacles. Humanitarian programming obstacles, failure to address or prioritize gender-based violence in assessment, strategy, development, and planning and programming because of lack of information. Na naman yung reason, no? Lack of information or understanding about the extent or the nature of gender-based violence. Also, lack of gender-sensitive design of programs, services, and facilities, including inadequate registration practices and distribution of yung halimbawa, paano or yung anong mga facilities, no? Yung pwedeng puntahan. Sexual exploitation and abuse. And also, other assistance and merong weak links with other assistance and protection programs. Lack of confidentiality, no? Parang malalaman ng buong community. So, hindi masyadong nako-focus yung pagkakaroon ng confidentiality. And sometimes confusing report and referral mechanism. Mali kung saan nire-refer yung individual who experience gender-based violence. And gender-based committees that are isolated sometimes and under-resourced and weak and lack support from the wider community. So these are some of the main causes of gender-based violence. Okay, the physical factors, social, cultural, political factors, individual barriers, judicial barriers, and humanitarian programming obstacles. So what about the consequences? So gender-based violence can have a serious long-term and life-threatening consequences for victims and survivors. It can range from permanent disability or death to a variety of physical, psychosocial, and health-related problems that often destroys the survivor's self-worth and quality of life. And also, it can expose her or him to further abuse. That's one of the consequences. And it can lead to a vicious cycle of violence. Ibig sabihin, pag sinabi natin vicious cycle of violence, yung paulit-ulit. No? Paulit-ulit na lang. So parang kaya nagkaroon din, siguro no, yung mga kapag nasanay ka na ikaw ay sinasaktan, halimbawa, ikaw ay isang may bahay. So kapag nasanay ka na ikaw ay sinasaktan, physical abuse, and pumapayag ka, parang ano na you used to it ka na. So hanggang sa paulit-ulit na lang yung violence na nangyayari sa'yo, naiisipin mo, okay lang yun. Dadating pa yung point na ang sinisisi mo is sarili mo dahil baka meron kang mga ginagawa na hindi mo na-please yung partner. But that's not supposed to be the. Yun yung tinatawag natin vicious cycle of violence. And the abuse as survivor, risk of being rejected by their family. So meron din ganong concept. The abuse as survivor, no, may risk of being rejected. Ostracized and also ostracized by society and even arrested, detained, and punished, and sometimes abused again for seeking protection, assistance, or access to justice. So that these are some of the consequences of gender-based violence. So what are the in terms of consequences? So meron tayong mga example, no? Example of consequences frequently associated with gender-based violence. So fatal consequence. So it will turn into homicide, suicide, no? Kapag may mga effect na in terms of mental and emotional health. No? Maternal mortality, infant mortality, or HIV and AIDS. Especially those who are engaged in prostitution or yung tinatawag natin na forced prostitution and survival sex. So may possibility, no? Because of that, maka-acquire sila ng HIV or AIDS na magiging cause ng kanilang death. Okay? So fatal. And then also, it may lead to acute and chronic physical violence, no? Like injury, no? Especially for physical violence, no? It can lead to injury, shock, disease, or infection. In terms of chronic physical, so chronic pain or infection, some gastrointestinal problem, eating or sleeping disorders, no? That may cause anxiety for someone who experienced gender-based violence. And also as a form of coping mechanism, no, pwede rin siyang maging alcohol or drug, mag-turn into alcohol or drug abuse. So these are some of the consequences in terms of acute and chronic physical. Okay, so sa reproductive, especially who are engaged in forced prostitution or survival sex, so a possibility on having a miscarriage, unwanted pregnancy, unsafe abortion, or for this is also applicable for those who experience sexual abuse or harassment. No? Miscarriage, unwanted pregnancy, unsafe abortion, STDs, including HIVs and AIDS. Menstrual disorder, no? Lalo na kapag bata yung mga nagiging biktima, yung sobrang bata. Pregnancy complications also. Gynecological disorders or sexual disorders. Okay. So we know naman na those who are victims of sexual abuse, no, it's either sometimes may mga, ito nakakalungkot, no, yung mga victim dumadating yung point na sila din yung nagiging perpetrator. Sila na rin yung, kasi yung may mga, like for example, meron akong client na victim ng sexual abuse. And then, as an effect sa kanyang na-experience, no, kanyang traumatic experience. So, nakapag-develop ko ng tinatawag na sexual abuse. Hinanap niya yung ganun experience. And to the point na hindi niya namamalayan, hindi na pala tama. Naghahanap siya ng ganun, kung ano yung na-experience. So parang yun, pag ganun, it needs recommended for therapy yung individual. And kailangan niyang mag-consult to a specialist para maging maayos yung. Okay? Also, social and economic consequences. Blaming of the victim or survivor. Minsan, kung sino ba yung na-biktima, siya pa yung sinisisi kung bakit nangyari sa kanya yung gender-based violence. And also, loss of role or functions in the society. Kasi pwedeng maapektuhan yung kanya emotional, psychological, mental health. So, it may lead to anxiety or depression na hindi na siya makakapag-function, functional sa personal and social functions. Also social stigma, rejection and isolation. Feminization, poverty, increased gender inequalities. Mas maraming cases, no? Gender inequality. Loss of livelihood and economic dependency and other social and economic consequences, arrest, detention, or punishment. Okay. So, also, as a consequence of the gender-based violence, so yung tinatawag nating emotional and psychological consequences. So, it can lead into post-traumatic stress, or the PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic. Isa yan sa mga, kasi ang pag naka-experience ang isang tao ng violence, no, nagkakaroon to ng effect, trauma, nagkakaroon ng trauma. Na kapag hindi na-address properly, so itong trauma na ito magiging barrier sa kanyang paano niya na-enjoy yung buhay niya at hindi siya mas nagiging productive individual. Okay. And also depression. It can lead to depression as a consequence of the violence na na-experience ng individual. Also anger, anxiety and fear, shame, self-hate and self-blame, mental illness also or mental disorder, and it can lead to suicidal thoughts and behavior. So later himayin natin yan. So I would like to show you some list of laws protecting women in the Philippines. Okay? So we have meron tayong mga iba't ibang batas, no, that pertains to gender-based or nagpro-protect sa ating tinatawag na gender concern. So, ayan. So, as the government, no, recognizes the role and influence of women in the Philippines, not only women but men, many laws have been crafted. Ginawa itong mga law na to to guarantee their protection and well-being. May it be in work or household or through their personal social areas of life. Okay. So first we have the 105-day expanded maternity leave law. So ayan, no, it is signed into law on February 2019. So bago lang to, by President Duterte. So it is also called the Republic Act 11210 or the expanded maternity law that extend, no, maternity leave laws extend the previous 60 days. So before kasi, kapag yung isang babae ay nanganak, so meron siyang 60 days, no, for maternity leave. But, and then, for normal delivery, 60 days. But for cesarean, 78 days. Okay, so ito yung binibigay sa private sector. Paid maternity leave. But right now, instead of 60 for normal delivery and 78 days for cesarean section delivery for women workers in the private sector, paid maternity leave to 105. The law also entails an option to extend for an additional 30 days of unpaid leave. Unpaid, ibig sabihin hindi na siya bayad, but additional 15 days paid maternity leave shall be also be granted to solo parents. So meron din kasi tayong tinatawag ng mga solo parents, no, as being head of the family and the only one na nag-aalaga din sa kanilang anak, may aside from 105, additional 15 days paid maternity leave for solo parents. Okay? Then also we have the RA 6725 or other known as Prohibition on Discrimination Against Women. So it prohibits discrimination with respect to terms and conditions of employment solely on the basis of sex. So under this law, any employer favoring a male employee over a female in terms of promotion, training opportunities, and other benefits solely account of sex is considered discrimination. Like for example, ang tatanggapin sa isang kumpanya mas pinapabura ng male, no? Tapos mas napopromote ang, bakit hindi na-promote yung babaeng empleyado? Kasi babae siya. So that's a no-no in RA 6725. So regardless of the sex, kailangan may equal opportunity, equal yung treatment, no? In terms of promotion, training opportunities, and other benefits na i-enjoy ng both sex. So kapag yon ay hindi equal, walang equal treatment and opportunities, so that is considered discrimination. Okay? And then we also have the RA 9262, the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004. So this is an act defining violence against women and their children, the BAUC, providing protection measures for victims, prescribing penalties, therefore, and other purposes, recognizes the need to protect the family and its members, particularly women and children, from violence and threats to their personal safety and security. So under this law, the state also recognizes the need to protect the family and its members, particularly women and children, from violence and threats to their personal security. Okay? And also we have the RA 7882. This is what we call the assistance for small-scale women entrepreneurs. Di ba kanina I have mentioned that may equal opportunity na, no? Hindi lang yung mga kalalakihan yung kilala natin na mga business tycoon, no? But also nag-e-excel na rin ang mga kababaihan. Like for example, in your field, no? Yung sa pagiging piloto, sa mga kasi before talagang lalaki, pero ngayon meron na tayong mga kilala or meron na rin mga kababaihan na piloto, no? Napapalitan ng eroplano. Ayan. So, this one, no, yung mga opportunity with regards to being an entrepreneur. So, this law seeks to provide all possible assistance to Filipino women in their pursuit of owning, operating, and managing small business enterprise. So, the RA 7882 or the act that states the provision of assistance to women engaging in micro and macro, no, cottage business enterprises, other purposes, was approved last February 1995. Okay. So also we have the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995, or other known as RA 7877. It addressed, no, the issue of sexual harassment committed in employment. So kanina dun sa picture at the beginning, nakita niyo yung example ng mga sexual harassment na nangyayari sa isang institution or company. So, addresses the issues of harassment committed in employment, education, or training environment. So it was signed into law last February 14, 1995 under President Fidel Valdez Ramos. So during the administration of President, and sexual favors made as a condition in the employment or granting promotion or privileges, or the refusal to grant the sexual favors resulting in limiting, segregating, or classifying the employee. Just like yung kanina, yun dun sa anti-violence against women, or dun sa prohibition of discrimination against women, no? Pantay-pantay with when regards to promotion, no? Classifying employee, and then opportunities na binibigay sa bawat isa. Okay? And then next is we have the anti-rape law of 1997, or ito rin yung tinatawag na RA 8353. So it states that any person having a carnal knowledge of a woman through force, no, sapilitan, tinakot, or intimidate, or by means of grave abuse of authority will be punished. So depending on the severity of the case, the offense may be punishable, reclusion perpetua, or life imprisonment. So yun yung magiging consequence kapag ginawa yung etong under this law, okay, anti-rape law. Okay, also we have the RA 8505, or the Rape Victim Assistance and Protection Act of 1998. It declares the policy of the state to provide necessary assistance and protection for rape victims. The government shall coordinate in various agencies and other non-government organizations to work hand in hand for the establishment and operation of the Rape Crisis Center in every province, no, not only in city but also in the provinces, that shall assist and protect yung mga rape victims in the litigation of their cases. So may mga shelter, no, na pinagdadalan sa kanila to protect them. Kasi baka mamaya, syempre, especially kung halimbawa, baka mamaya yung kanilang perpetrator is kilala or mayaman. So baka may mangyari sa kanila. So kaya nagkaroon ng tinatawag na Rape Victim Assistance and Protection to protect them or the person being abused during the process of their litigation at the recovery process. Also, we have the Magna Carta of Women, so other known as RA 9710. So it is a comprehensive women's human rights law that seeks to eliminate discrimination through the recognition, protection, fulfillment, and promotion of the rights of Filipino women, especially those belonging to the marginalized sectors of the society, o yung mga medyo hindi nakakaangat. No? It conveys a framework of rights for women based directly on international law. Pursuant to this law is yung tinatawag na Executive Order 273 that states the approval of adoption of Philippine Plan for Gender Responsive Development. And then the National Women's Day. So meron tayong tinatawag na National Women's Day, RA 6949, or declares the 8th, tuwing kailan to, March 8 every year as a special working holiday. So these are some of the laws protecting women in the Philippines. Okay, so now yan. So I would like you to listen to this. This is a part of the advocacy or campaign of the PCW, or Philippine Commission for Women's, kanilang campaign on gender and development.
Naiinis ako sa mouse na to.
Oh, wala pong audio yung video, ma'am.
Okay. Wala bang sound yung video? Hello? Hello? Narinig
Yes
ba
po.
ako?
Yes, wala pong sound. Hindi
Yes
pa
po,
tayo
ma'am.
naka-share sound.
Wala po.
Okay. Ayan. So, sige. I'll try to, okay, stop share muna ako and then I'll try to share the video. Kunin ko siya dun sa YouTube. Ay, share ko uli siya. Okay, naririnig na po.
Chong pasipol-sipol, mga manong sa labas. Magpigil at gumalang, kaya ikaw sara bibig, kundi maganda ang lalabas.
Pare, ang catcalling ay isang uri ng sexual harassment. Di biro ang sexual harassment at di nakakamacho ang pang-aabuso.
Kaya ikaw sara bibig, kundi maganda ang lalabas.
Isang paalala mula sa Philippine Commission on Women.
Another one.
Game, 1, 2, and...
Paa, tuhod, balik at ulo, itapwetan, baywang at sus. Huwag mong titigan ang hindi sa'yo at maging disenteng tao.
Pare, ang catcalling ay isang uri ng sexual harassment. Di biro ang sexual harassment at di nakakamacho ang pang-aabuso. Isang paalala mula sa Philippine Commission on Women.
Ang sumitsit ay bangmangmang, ang sumipol ay banghunghang. Ang babae sa lansangan, huwag hiritan kundi igalang.
Pare, ang catcalling ay isang uri ng sexual harassment. Di biro ang sexual harassment at di nakakamacho ang pang-aabuso.
Huwag hiritan kundi igalang.
Isang paalala mula sa Philippine Commission on Women.
Okay, so this is part of the campaign, no? A campaign ng Philippine Commission on Women on sa ating gender equality. So, kasi nga, di ba, ito yung mga common na nangyayari, no, yung catcalling, and it is a form of sexual harassment. Para maging aware yung mga tao na hindi tama yung tinatawag natin na catcalling. Kapag minsan nakakita ng sexy na talagang sinisipulan, so yun yung mga nagiging hindi nila alam, mamalayan na ito pala ay isang halimbawa na ng tinatawag natin na gender-based violence, which is a sexual harassment. So let me share again my screen. Okay. So we have to remember that gender and development focuses on the principle that development is for all. Okay, everyone in society, female or male, has the right to equal opportunities to achieve a full and satisfying life. Women and men enjoy the same conditions for realizing their full human rights and potentials to contribute to development as well as benefit from the result. So it's for all, no? Yung mga opportunities yung mga rights, no, na meron tayo bilang isang individual ay pantay-pantay. So man ay babae o lalaki or kung ano man yung iyong gender preferences. Pag sinabi nating gender preferences, so we have, eto na yung nagsasanga-sanga na, no, na different gender. No, we have the lesbian, gay, bisexual, LGBTIA. No? So we have the lesbian, gay, bisexual, intersex, transgender, and also the male and female. Okay? And I would like to go back dun sa isang emotion, dun sa isang consequence, no, ng gender-based violence. Because as a counselor, no, as a mental health advocate, this is I would like to strengthen or to emphasize more on the emotional and psychological effect of gender violence. The post-traumatic stress, the depression, the anger, anxiety, and fear, shame, self-help, hate, and self-blame, mental illness, and suicidal thoughts and behavior. Okay, so what we can do? For example, kung para maiwasan yung mga gender-based violence, or kung ang isang tao ay naka-experience na nito, ano ba yung mga dapat gawin? Parang what coping strategies or mechanism na pwedeng gawin, no, para para maiwasan yung mga consequences or effect of gender-based violence, especially in terms of emotional and mental effect. Okay, so please go back to the chat room. No? Yung link na aking pinost doon. So you may share some coping, what do you think are some of the coping mechanism, no, na pwedeng gawin ng isang tao? Yeah. So I will post again the link. Coping, can you think of some coping strategies or coping mechanism to protect yourself, no? To protect yourself, your physical, mental, and well-being as an individual. Kasi dun sa mga data natin kanina lumalabas na dahil din ng pandemic, no? At posibleng ang mga perpetrator is inside yung community or home, no? So ano ba yung mga pwedeng gawin to keep yourself protected, no? During this time of pandemic. Okay, then I will share your responses. What to do to protect your health, safety, and well-being, especially in this time of pandemic. So you may type in your answer dun sa chat box na sinend ko sa inyo. Then I'll share my screen. Ayan, so wala pa akong nakikitang response. So what to do to protect your health, safety, and well-being, especially in this time of crisis. Buying things, be clean, eat proper food, watching movies, playing games, take some vitamins. Yes, of course. Importante din yung ating physical health sa ngayon, no? We value our physical health. Pray, be clean, family, okay. Keep being informed also, be socially aware, meditation, be healthy, okay, exercise, take care of myself, okay, be mindful, always put playing games, okay, have a stress reliever. So ano kayang mga pwede nating maging stress reliever? Entertain yourself, get enough sleep, okay, enjoy life, educate yourself, yan. Eating healthy food, no? Yung lifestyle, no? We have to change yung ating lifestyle kung hindi nakakatulong. Be positive, be socially aware, ask for support, of course. Yung tinatawag natin na Support group, support system, this is very important, especially nowadays. And sino ba yung nagsisilbing support group ninyo or support system? Academic break, naku, nakita ko na naman to. Wala pa ba kayong academic break? Yan. So yan, be vigilant. What else? So yan, so iba-iba. Ang nakikita ko rin, different forms of coping, different forms of how are you going to take care of yourself in terms of physical, no? Physical self-care, emotional and psychological self-care, and you also have yung mga practical self-care na nakikita ko rito sa screen. Ayan. Okay, so thank you for your participation. So I'll go back to my slide. I'll share my screen. Okay, so at this point, so I'm going to share some of the coping strategies that you can, that will help you, and facing challenging situations, no, and then especially right now, meron pa tayong crisis. Okay, so what to do, okay, especially dun sa mga case of gender-based violence. Report or seek help, that's the number one. It's, wala kasing mangyayari kung hindi nagre-report or humihingi ng tulong. If you just keep it to yourself, no, it will lead to another problem, which is pwedeng makapag-develop to ng mental illness, disorder, or anxiety, depression, and other forms of mental disorder sa individual. So you have to report or seek help. Ask for somebody na you trusted, no? Para matulungan ka doon sa situation na iyong pinagdadaanan. And then another one, get yourself to a safe place and out of danger as soon as you can. Especially if your case is ang perpetrator or yung gumagawa ng abuse is inside the family, inside the community, yung malapit sa'yo. So you have to go to a safe place for you to be out of danger. If you cannot do this to yourself, consider reaching out to someone you trust who can assist and support you. So think of that person or individual or baka an organization who might be helped, no, to assist you and support you in your endeavor or in what you are experiencing as of the moment. And then third is consider receiving immediate medical assistance, especially for those who experience physical or sexual abuse. Kasi di ba may mga acute and chronic physical yan. Yung baka mamaya may head trauma, especially for physical abuse, or that needs an immediate medical assistance. And number 4, do some coping strategies that would help you. So at this point, I'm going to share some of the coping strategies na pwedeng makatulong sa inyo. This is not only applicable for gender-based violence, but also applicable in taking care of yourself in facing challenging situation or crises. No? Hindi lang for gender-based violence. Okay, so these are some of the coping mechanisms. And why have some coping mechanisms? For us to develop our resiliency. How to become a resilient individual. So according to Lisa Delmore, clinical psychologist, we have good coping mechanisms if we know how to take care of ourselves through our emotional difficulties and know how to use our resources. So it is not that you do not suffer, kasi all of us nakaka-experience tayo ng mga difficulties in life. Nakaka-experience tayo ng mga struggle, no, in our everyday lives. So it's not that you do not suffer. You do not go through hardships. But when faced with emotional hardships, there is the confidence that you can get the other side of it. It is knowing what to do when things go wrong. Okay, so that's very important to improve our resiliency. And why is it important? Because it gives a person, an individual, the strength he or she needed to process and overcome hardship. And also to tap into strength and support system to overcome what? Challenges and work through problems. And also to avoid getting easily overwhelmed. Kaya tayo madalas nag-overthink, no? Kasi we are being easily overwhelmed by different situations and turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms. So sometimes, kapag tayo overwhelmed and nag-overthink, we tend to turn into unhealthy coping mechanisms. So that is why it's important to have a resiliency skills, no? A good resiliency skills to avoid getting into overwhelm and turn to unhealthy coping mechanism. Okay, so I would like to share to you what we call the PERMA V, para madali siyang tandaan. This is originally the author of this, what we call the flourishing PERMA V is Seligman. Okay, so it stands for letter P, positivity, engagement, relationships, meaning, achievement, and vitality. Okay, so let's have it one by one. So, PERMA V, the positive emotions. So, it pertains to the right balance of heartfelt positivity to build our resilience. So, it increases our positive emotions. No? Possible that we have to challenge ourselves to increase positive emotions. And what we call, ano ba yung positive reframing? So as you can see on the screen, you have there the rainbow and the sun, the rain. No? Parati nating naririnig, there's a rainbow after the rain. So after a certain difficult situation, there is a bright side, no? Another day, brighter day. So this is what we call positive reframing. So it is a technique that helps us to see the other side of an event, another person's behavior or problem or a challenge in personal relationships. So we try to be more positive. So looking at the situation, a challenging situation, into more good or in a good perspective. That's positive reframing. Kung may problema, may solusyon. Kung hindi ka okay ngayon, baka bukas okay na. And at this point in time, it's okay not to be okay because we have a crisis. So what we can do is to reframe our thinking. No? Huwag tayong magbabad dun sa negativity. Okay? So we also have the engagement, the regular development of strength, doing things we are good at and enjoy. Involve yourself in a hobby, you learn something new so that merong nagkakaroon ka ng diversion of your attention sa negative na katuon. So you develop a hobby. No? Kung matagal mo nang gustong mag-develop ng hobby, wala kang time, maybe it's about time. Right now is an opportunity for you to develop and learn something new. And then we have the relationship. So it's very important that we strengthen, no, and maintain a good relationship with others. So it pertains to the creation of authentic, energizing, and supportive relationships. And what are the 5 essentials or important in developing a healthy relationship? So lahat tayo ayaw natin ng toxic relationship. So for us to have a healthy relationship, so we must have a good communication or open communication, respect each and every one, no? Boundaries. You have to know the parameters, the limitation, the boundary of the person. So pareho kayo, mag-develop kayo ng a good or not toxic relationship by knowing your boundaries. And number 4, trust, no? Yung tiwala. And then support for one another. Okay? Also, we find meaning in our life. A sense of being connected to something bigger than ourselves and having a purpose. So, what is your purpose? What drives you? What wakes you up in the morning and what gives you energy? So sabi nga, the purpose of life is a life purpose. So all of us has a purpose. So we have to be look at the things in a positive way. Ano yung pwede kong ma-contribute sa aking sarili para maging productive ako, no? Ano yung pwede kong ma-contribute sa aking kapwa para maging blessing din ako sa kanya. So that's finding meaning in our everyday lives. No? Even the hardship that we have. So kapag tapos ng hardship, we have this what we call victory. No? You overcome the hardship or the challenging situation. And also, okay, so achievement. The self-belief and ability to pursue and accomplish goals. So, ayan. Paano ba tayo nagsiset ng goal? So, in setting our goal, lagi natin nabibinig to. No? Our goal must be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Smart goal. But right now, mas maganda siguro, so if we are smarter in setting our goal, which is we try to evaluate our goals. So kapag may mga achievement and accomplishments, try to evaluate ano ba yung mga ginawa mo to achieve your goal. No? What during the process, ano yung mga nakatulong sa'yo para ma-achieve mo yung goal mo. So there is a process of addition and subtraction. So yung mga sa tingin mo na mga bagay na hindi nakatulong, alisin mo siya. Ngayon yung mga bagay na nakatulong, baka pwede mo pang i-improve in such a way na you are evaluating your process on accomplishing a goal. And don't forget to reward yourself. Okay, importante yan. Kasi nagiging tayo pag halimbawa, set a certain goal, accomplish the goal, set another goal, accomplish. So parang kailangan natin ng rest for a while. So you reward yourself. So by example nito, eating ice cream sa 7-Eleven. Huh? Or eat your comfort food. O baka naman may mga gusto kang series na panuorin pero dahil busy kang mag-accomplish ng goal, hindi mo magawa. So kapag na-accomplish mo na yung goal mo, you achieve it, it's about time to give yourself a me time. No? Okay. Yan. So smarter in accomplishing your goal. And then in doing your goal. Okay. Vitality. Okay. This pertains to take care of our physical health by eating well, moving regularly, or have a regular exercise. No? Kahit yung walking lang siguro, konting walking, kailangan natin gumalaw-galaw. So lalo na ngayon na mas tayo, most of our time, nasa harap tayo ng computer, laptop, gadgets, attending our online classes. So, para tayong sasakit yung mga likod natin. So, kailangan pahinga-pahinga, hindi lang likod yung physical, pati yung mata natin, di ba? Na-expose masyado sa monitor, masakit ang ulo. So, konting galaw, wag laging nakaupo sa harap ng laptop. Okay? Yan. So, and then, by giving yourself rest and sleep. Okay? Importante yan. Okay. And also, we have to consider that there are things that we can control and there are things we cannot control. So this is what we call our inner circle and our outside circle. Ano ba yung nasa inner circle natin that we can control? These are our thoughts, our goals, our ambitions, what we want to say, what we want to post in the social media, our boundaries, our thoughts, our self-care, your opinion, your ideas. This is inside your circle. And what's outside your circle? Kung ano yung nasa inside of your circle, eto rin yung nasa outside circle mo. But it pertains to ano yung sasabihin ng tao sa inyo, ano yung gusto nilang i-post sa social media, ano yung kanilang mga ideas, yung kanilang mga perception, yung kanilang iniisip, yung kanilang boundaries, yung kanilang self-care. So these are the things we cannot control. So better to focus ourselves more on the things that we can control. Kasi kaya tayo minsan nag-overthink, kaya tayo madalas na anxious, no? Kasi lagi nating iniisip how to please other. So we have to focus more on inside our circle. And also, so I would like to share with you the 4 R's to protect yourself from emotional stress. Especially, hindi lang siguro ngayong may pandemic, but in our everyday lives, no? How are you going to protect yourself from emotional stress? So you keep your routine, no? Keep your routine, gawin nyo lang kung ano yung mga bagay na ginagawa ninyo, the usual things that you used to do. Like for example, ngayong online class, no? Kung dati, nung may face-to-face, uma-attend kayo ng class, you wake up early in the morning, you prepare for school, maliligo, mag-aagahan, so gawin nyo pa rin yun. Kasi ngayon parang ang nangyayari, pagkagising sa umaga, nakaharap na sa online class. At you feel sleepy because you were not able to take a bath. Kasi kulang sa time, no? Kulang sa tulog. And then, yun pa, isa pa yon yung pagtulog. Kung dati ang tulog nyo 10, so keep your routine. Ganun pa rin. Parang anuin nyo na kung ano yung ginagawa nyo during face-to-face class. Yun, keep your routine. And then reflect. So, I think ngayon yung mas maganda, no? Yung may opportunity kayo to reflect, establish a good relationship with others, with God, with your family, no? Appreciate the things that you have, especially good health and family. So, napakalaking blessing nito at this point of time, no? And then, reconnect. It's an opportunity for you to reconnect, but due to social distancing or restriction, no, limitations, so we connect with others through online, no, virtually. Reconnect with your friends, family, and acquaintances. This will strengthen your support system or support group. Kung meron kayong common concerns and issues na nakakapag-share kayo ng inyong mga issues and concern, and you gain knowledge and experiences from one another. Okay? And then refrain. So refrain negative thoughts, turn it into positive. Positive reframing. Okay? And also yan. So another ways to keep calm and be productive is this one, George. So I would like to show you. Okay, so I'll stop share. So I'll show something.
This is to keep us more productive and flourishing and not to be lost in the sea of unproductive. This is to keep us more productive.
So for a while, I think nagsabay siya.
So JARS is an acronym. So let us always remember to keep our JARS. So JARS is
Okay, again. Ayan, pasensya na, gusto sumama nung dog sa ating webinar. Okay.
This is to keep us more productive and flourishing and not to be lost in the sea of unproductiveness. So let us always remember to keep our JARS. So JARS is an acronym
for journal, anchor, routine, and sleep. Okay, so let us start with the first letter, letter G, which means journal. So it is good to record our thoughts and experiences. Why? So it can help us control our emotions and improve our mental health. Now, for the next letter, it's letter A, so it stands for anchor. So during the ancient time, it is a symbol of hope and a sense of connectedness. So it is something that you can hold on to when you feel overwhelmed. Like for example, it can be your friends, your family, your partner, a pet, plants, or a good book. For letter R, it stands for routine. So according to Dr. Goldman, a psychologist, when people do not have a routine or structure down, it can cause increase in stress and anxiety, as well as overwhelming feelings and lack of concentration and focus. So having a regular routine helps us to lower stress level, to help us feel more productive, to develop good daily habits, to feel more focused on the things that we can control. The last letter is letter S, and it stands for sleep. So according to sleepfoundation.org, sleep empowers an effective immune system. It heightens brain functioning. It enhances mood, and it improves mental health. Again, let us always keep our jars. And as part of creating a routine, meron ako ritong 3 jars. So, I have here, gratitude jar, jar of happiness, and jar of good deeds. So, ano pa yung pwede nating gawin sa 3 jars na to? So, pwede nating ilagay dito yung mga bagay na pinagpapasalamat natin, yung mga bagay na nagbigay sa atin ng kaligayahan, at yung mga bagay, magandang bagay na nagawa natin sa maghapon. So, at the end of the day, kahit na meron tayong krisis na pinagdadaanan, nakikita pa rin natin yung ano ba yung mga bagay na dapat natin ipagpasalamat, mga bagay na nagpapasaya sa atin, at yung mga nagawa natin kabutihan para sa ating kapwa. Okay? So, of course, we have to be grateful always with hope that this COVID-19 pandemic shall pass. Have a wonderful.
So, yan. So that's part of coping strategies that you may practice, no, for you to help to be mentally, emotionally, and physically well. And also, I have another one, which is the aside from this, so KGT, yan. So hindi po to yung Pilipinas Got Talent na ating alam, no? But we have to pay attention to warning signs, no? Ano ba yung mga signs and symptoms that we're not okay, especially with regards to mental areas of our life, no, or psychological areas of our life, and then get help when you need it, okay, and take good care of yourself. And okay, so this is to sum up. I don't know kung mag-play siya with sounds, but I'll try na rin. Nadidinig po ba?
Sinasabi ng mga datos
Yes po,
sa
meron po.
Pilipinas na 1 out of 5 na may edad na 15 to 49 ay nakakaranas ng karahasan. Sa panahon ng pandemya, nagkaroon ng pagbaba sa reported cases. Ngunit ito ay maaaring indikasyon na ang mga biktima ay nananatiling kasama ang mga abusers at hindi makahingi ng tulong mula sa kaibigan, kapamilya at kinauukulan. Ang gender-based violence ay isang paglabag sa karapatang pantao at uri ng karahasan kung saan ang mga nagiging biktima ay maaaring isa o grupo ng mga tao nang dahil sa kanilang gender o napiling sexual orientation. Ito ay isang pangyayari na hindi madali ikwento o ipaalam sa mga kinauukulan. Ang pangyayaring ito ay nagdudulot ng takot, anxiety, trauma at depression sa mga biktima nito. Kaya may mga batas na nailathala upang mapalawak ang ating karapatan. Ilan sa mga ito ay ang Anti-Rape Law, Anti-Sexual Harassment Act, Anti-Violence Against Children and Women, Magna Carta for Women at Safe Spaces Act. Ang pagkakaroon ng kaalaman sa iyong karapatan ay nakakadagdag sa pag-iingat at pangangalaga sa iyong sarili. Ito rin ay makakatulong upang maging maayos at matiwasay ang ating tahanan, paaralan at komunidad, kung saan ang mga tao ay ligtas, nagpapakita ng pagkakapantay-pantay at respeto anuman ang iyong kasarian at katayuan sa lipunan. Alamin ang iyong karapatan upang mapanatili ang good mental health at well-being. Tandaan, ikaw ay mahalaga. Isang paalala mula.
Okay, so that's as part of the summary of our session. Lagi niyong tandaan na ang bawat isa ay pantay-pantay at may pantay-pantay na oportunidad para sa lahat. At ikaw bilang isang individual ay napakahalaga. So mahalaga rin na malaman mo ang iyong karapatan bilang isang individual. Okay? So at this point, so I would like to know, ano ba yung inyong mga takeaways or learnings or insights from this session? So this will be the last interaction activity that we're going to have, no? So huwag kayong mag-alala at patapos na tayo sa ating program. Yan. So I will post something again on the chat box with regards to your learnings. So sandali lang po. Okay, so yan. So here we go. So I have posted a link on your chat box. And I'll share the responses. Yan. So what are your takeaways? Okay, so parang tama ba yung aking na-share? I think parang same link yung aking na-share. Yan. Okay. Yan. Yung the second link. Okay, what are your takeaways, learning, insight from this session? I have to take care of myself. Siguro nabitin lang. Okay, so to take care of yourself, no? Okay, what else? What about the others? What did you learn or what's your takeaways? Okay, it's okay to ask for help. Yeah, very important to ask for help, no? Kasi importante ang inyong physical, mental, psychological health. So kung hindi kayo hihingi ng tulong, kung kayo ay naka-experience ng forms of violence, no? So walang mangyayari. So kailangan mag-ask ng help. Yan. Importance of rest, gender equality, be mindful, of course. Yan, respect and protect individuals. Be knowledgeable, self-love. We are valid, of course. Solutions are present. Importance of rest. Know my rights. Okay? Kasi meron tayong gender equality. So we have a fair rights, opportunities na meron ang lahat. Okay? What else? Solutions are problem rest. No need to worry. Many problems, but in spite of many problems, no, and challenges, help is available. Okay? Always remember that. Connect with others. Okay. So importance to ask help, then take care of my emotional. Okay. You know what is good for you. Do not be ashamed, no? Yung stigma, no? Kailangan alam natin yung karapatan natin bilang isang tao. We need to be mindful. Okay. But yun, equality, self-love, gender equality, respect, importance of self-love. Yeah, we should respect everyone. So that's it. So yan. So thank you, no, for your participation and for knowing that you have takeaways, learnings, and insight from our session. Okay, so yan. I'll go back to my slide. Yan. And okay. Okay, and then based on your learnings, on the takeaways and insight, no, you have to allow yourself to feel what you feel. It is all valid. Sabi nga kanina nung isang nag-share, we are valid. To sit with those feelings and take your time working through them. To self-soothe in the best way you know how. No, have some self-care or coping strategies, and to reach out for help if it feels like too much. No? Especially kung talagang nakita natin na hindi natin kaya ang bagay o yung mga challenges na meron tayo. So reach out. And we have to stop gender-based violence, domestic violence, any forms of gender-based violence, physical, emotional, no, socioeconomic, and other forms of gender-based violence. Okay? We have to be aware of our rights, our equality as an individual. Okay, so this ends my talk. So thank you so much for listening and for your participation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marilyn and Harry, Doctor of Philosophy, registered guidance counselor, and licensed professional teacher, for enlightening us on gender and mental health, promoting mental health, safety, and well-being amidst COVID-19 pandemic.
Also for inviting me to be with you in this morning session. It's nice to see you guys. No?
So,
Thank you, Dr. Josepina.
So, may I encourage my co-students, if we have any questions, just message on the chat box so that Miss Marilyn can answer these questions. So, for the first question, we have JV Reynerio Santos. How do we encourage victims to take actions?
Okay, so how do we, let me read first the question. So this is from Sir JV Santos, no? How do we encourage victim to take action? Okay, so kasi ang isang biktima, usually, what they have in mind is natatakot silang mag-report no, ng case ng kanilang any forms of gender-based violence dahil dun sa fear of stigmatization. So we have to, number one is to give them awareness, no? Perhaps based on the topic na na-discuss natin, na i-enlighten natin sila to be aware of their rights, no, as an individual. Na kung ano yung nangyayari sa kanilang violence or abuse, ito ay hindi katanggap-tanggap at hindi nila dapat ito na i-experience bilang isang tao. So, first is yung let's reiterate them, no? Maging aware, no? Bigyan natin sila ng awareness on their rights, no? Bilang isang individual. And then siguro pwede rin natin silang i-encourage to ask for help, na sabihin natin sa kanila, help is available. At merong mga tao, organizations na willing tumulong sa kanila. Para nagkakaroon sila ng hope, no? Assurance na merong magpro-protect sa kanila bilang isang biktima.
Thank you, Ms. Marilyn. Next, we have from Anya Luis M. de la Cruz. With all the issues discussed po that are related to abuse, do you think gaslighting should be known by others just like the other forms of abuse?
Yan, sandali lang ha. Okay, with all the issues discussed po that are related to gaslighting should be known. Okay, sandali. Nag-ano yung aking chat box eh. Can you read again?
Okay po, ma'am. From Anya Luis M. de la Cruz, with all the issues discussed po that are related to abuse, do you think gaslighting should be known by others just like the other forms of abuse?
Yes, it's also considered, no? Kasi gaslighting is manipulating, no? Manipulating by means of psychological, no? Psychologically, minamanipulate ka ng isang tao that questions your own sanity. So it is also a form of abuse, no? Usually this one is done by the yung mga significant person also, no? It maybe a partner, a husband, a wife. So you also have to know that this is also a form of abuse.
Next, we have Yana Katsumi. What are the reasons why women are considered as a weaker gender?
Okay, so with this one, no, we will go back to the history. Mahabang discussion, no? Another discussion to kasi babalikan natin yung history. So I think during Victorian era yan na meron tayong may thinking na ang isang babae ay para lamang sa bahay, nagpa-follow dun sa kanyang partner, no, sa kanyang husband, no. May mga ganun yan during era ng Victorian era yan, ano, na remember, kung kayo ay nagbabasa ng mga, even yung meron tayong, di ba, no limit tangere, el filibusterismo, nagre-reflect doon yung issue on gender and development. No, kapag ang isang babae, nandun lang siya sa bahay, hindi siya pinagtatapos ng pag-aaral kasi andun na yung parang futuristic na. Kasi bakit ka pa mag-aaral? Pagdating ng time, pag nag-asawa ka, doon ka lang sa bahay. Mag-aalaga ka ng mga anak mo. Magsusunod ka sa asawa mo. So ito, ang isa sa mga dahilan nito kung bakit ang isang kababaihan ay kino-consider as weaker gender. Kasi nagmula ito doon sa ating past history. na ganun ang thinking. And right now, ito yung talagang nagkakaroon na tayo ng nire-revisa natin. So hindi na ganun ang thinking. No? Kaya nagkaroon ng gender equality, equity, andyan yung gender and development. No? Yung women empowerment. Okay? So kung napapansin nyo rin dati, ang mga hari ang nag-rule. Pero ngayon, nagiging na rin, merong women empowerment pagdating sa politics, pagdating sa career, ang mga babae. So we have fair opportunities, no? Okay, so yan, babalik tayo sa ating history. Yung isa sa dahilan. Okay? So I hope Miss Kachumi, no? So pwede kayong magbasa, ano ba yung mga nangyari before sa history, no? Bakit merong ganitong perception or wrong perception ang mga tao pagdating sa may gender bias, no?
Thank you, Dr. Marilyn. Last question we have is from Victoria Woodbridge. How can we ask help if the harassment and or violence occurs abroad, especially in countries where gender equality is not yet acknowledged?
I think this pertains, no, baka ang example niya rito kung halimbawa isang kababayan natin na na-abuse outside our country, like for example, tama ba Miss Victoria Woodbridge na halimbawa isang domestic helper na abuse outside, yes, outside the country. So we have an organization or meron tayong mga affiliation doon, no, sa ibang bansa na pwede nilang lapitan para tumulong sa kanila, mag-rescue sa kanila. May mga organization doon. Yung tinatawag, di ba yung sa OWA? Yung sa OWA, meron tayong mga overseas worker organization na nandun para tumulong sa kapwa nating Pilipino. So ang challenge na lang siguro sa isang individual who experienced that outside the country is paano yung kanyang kapasidad to seek for help. Halimbawa, yung domestic helper na yon, ito example is hindi naman nakakalabas ng bahay. Hindi siya ina-allowed to go out. So baka meron siyang friends, kaya na makikita nyo in Facebook, minsan may nagla-live nung kanilang violence na na-experience para makapag-reach out sila. And then pwede sila tulungan ng kapwa nating Pilipino na nandun as help and the government natin na affiliated with OWA doon sa ibang bansa. So yun yung unang tulong na pwede nilang, kasi mas malayo hindi agad dito sa Pilipinas But then lumapit muna dun sa agency, Philippine agency na nandun na makakatulong, yung consul, no? Consul natin na nandoon. Kung ikaw ay nasa US, may consul tayo doon. Kung ikaw ay nasa Saudi, meron tayong consul doon. So yun ang unang lalapitan for help. And then sila yung mag-a-assist sa individual who experience gender-based violence. Okay.
Thank you, Ma'am Marilyn. I know that this pandemic has made us feel lesser of what we are capable of doing and have us thinking if we're still on the right track. But worry not, then just keep on going on your own pace. Always remember that no matter what, no matter who we think we are, there are people who love us. I hope that we are able to see ourselves in the eyes of those who care for us. Keep your chin up and head high. There's still hope for those coffee dates, parties, family gatherings, and face-to-face classes. So for the presentation of certificates, the certificate reads Sapphire International Aviation Academy. This certificate of appreciation is awarded to Dr. Marilyn N. Hari, PhD, RGC, LPT, for sharing her knowledge and expertise as a speaker during the Gender Laws and Filipino Values Month webinar with the title, A Webinar on Gender and Mental Health, Promoting Mental Health, Safety, and Well-Being Amidst COVID-19 Pandemic, given this 26th day of November 2021. signed by Sir Narvi N. Garrido, our SWDO coordinator, followed by Dr. Sifina R. Torres, our Directress for Academics, and lastly, Ms. Catherine R. Levanza, our Academy President. So thank you to our speaker, faculty members, and to my fellow Siaans for listening and participating in today's webinar on gender and mental health, promoting mental health, safety, and well-being amidst COVID-19 pandemic. Reminder to my dear co-students, please do not forget to fill out the attendance and evaluation form on the chat box. Let us have our lunches first and be back by 1:30 p.m. for the rest of the program.
Have a happy lunch. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much po, ma'am.
Thank you po, Doktora.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Dr. Hari.
thank you, Ma'am Selpa. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for the
Thank you very
opportunity
much.
to share.
Yes, thank you very much, ma'am.
Stay safe.
Thank you.